Morning, everyone. Really thankful to be here and trust you all have been really having good conversation since this morning. Thank you for inviting me, Jen, Charles. Today I'll be sharing a bit more about how to adopt the startup mentality in nonprofits. So sharing a few personal lessons from my journey that hopefully will help some of you in this room. So I think just first up, just introducing who I am. I'm Shan, most people just call me Shan. I started out first in studying accounting and finance in a local university. And as most normal banking students, I joined UOB. So I joined a bank, but soon enough I realized that that really wasn't where I was passionate about. And I took a leap of faith, joined Zalora, something that I totally had no idea what to do, so joined e-commerce because then I thought it was booming. I was interested in online shopping, so I was like, okay, I'm still young, why not try? So I was in Zalora for about a year before I got approached to join ShopBack because quite a few of our co-founders were actually from Zalora. And back then I was like, okay, I've already taken a leap, taken a pay cut, gone to Zalora, working for someone that's not my own company. So why not, try out this ShopBack thing. I believed in the vision back then in terms of what we were doing. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And 7 years in, I've never looked back. So I think out of office, I actually enjoy the outdoors quite a lot. I enjoy diving, but unfortunately haven't been able to do that a lot the last couple of years. And I'm also quite an avid online shopper, so I think I actually joined the right place. Just to share a bit more about what I usually spend on, because I think shopping is something that I'm very passionate about, and thankfully it has also been a huge mission for us here at ShopBack in terms of making shopping better for everyone. So these are just some places that I shop at. If you guys have not used ShopBack yet, maybe it's time to check it out now, but that's not the point of this sharing. So what? Oh, sure. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm from ShopBack. What we are, if you guys don't already know, we're actually in 10 markets. We really aim to make shopping more rewarding, delightful, and accessible for everyone through a multitude of products. So basically, we want to help users to save time and money. Currently, we're in 10 markets. We are homegrown. We started out in Singapore, with our latest market being South Korea. And recently, we also acquired a buy now, pay later firm called Hula, which I will share a little bit more on later too. So really, I think we've been growing pretty quickly in the past 7 years. And I think really kudos to the team that has really helped to make this possible. So I think a bit more about my background. So I think you can see here that I have done a lot of things within ShopBack. Started out in marketing, then I helped to launch a few new markets when we expanded out of Singapore. I also led business development for a bit, and then actually was part of our first offline foray when we started ShopBack Go, because we first started out more in the online scene. And then I actually did a stint also in the people team, helping to increase engagement within the company as our company was growing very quickly. And then now I'm actually in the midst of transiting to a new role in the financial services business that we're trying to build up. So I've been in Philippines, in Malaysia, and then in Singapore most of my time. So I think now I'll go to the more interesting bit about three short lessons, hopefully, that will be meaningful to you guys. And I think as I was preparing this, because I haven't done this in a while, I think we all know that for COVID, a lot of things were stopped. I only did a few virtual sharings. So it was quite a good time of reflection for myself, really, to kind of ponder about what 3 lessons I thought would be most important to also communicate to some of you guys who might be entrepreneurs like myself, or part of a very, very young startup or growing company. Hopefully this can speak to you guys as well. And I think something interesting also was that as I tried to think of these lessons, somehow I kept on tying back to some of our ShopBack core values, which I will also share a bit more on later. So I think the first lesson for me, I think Jen also mentioned this in a bit of the speaker's write-up, was that I think one big thing was to have this "can't is not an option" attitude. I think not just at the start when we're starting up, but even now, 7 years in, having that attitude and being able to find similar like-minded people, find a like-minded tribe is actually really important. and I can just share a bit more. So these are just some funny pictures at the start of the journey. I think on the left, it's actually me. I'm in the middle wearing that silly ostrich hat because we used to, take red-eye flights every week to the Philippines when we were setting up. And I have a problem sleeping, so I need to have like total darkness. So I would do that. And then my co-founders at the left side taking stupid pictures, and on my right is actually my intern. And then back then we actually were very heavily dependent on interns at the start because we are bootstrapped. We don't have a lot of resources, and having new people come in fresh out of school, they are just like, taking a break before university. They would come and join us, we would train them up, and, they'll fly around with some of us. So I think that was really working within the little resources that we had and really having that, hey, I've never done this before, but let's just try our best because can't is not an option. And really having people who have that similar mindset to go to uncharted territories together. And I think you can see it was not easy. I think in the middle, we actually used to share like a few people in the same room because we wanted to be prudent at the start, while my friends were traveling and staying at the Shangri-Las, I was like traveling and staying in an Airbnb with like 5 people. So it was tough and it was not easy, but very fulfilling as well. So yeah, I think it's important to actually find that kind of tribe, that like-minded group of people to work with. I think very thankfully at the start, myself, my co-founders and the initial team, we had that mindset, that we were all similar in terms of what we wanted to do and achieve here, to really succeed as one team. I think this is one of our core values as well. So we really believe that, when we work as a team together, you succeed together, but you also fail together. And we don't point fingers at each other when things go wrong, but more of having a very collaborative mindset. And you can see that actually out of office, we are also very close. We do a lot of fun things together, which I think is actually important to build that connection. Not just, come to work and say like, hey, hi, have lunch, but also to develop that closer relationship with your coworkers, with your team outside of work, to understand, maybe some of their personal struggles, what really motivates them, how to unlock certain potentials. Because I think really at the start, right, when you have limited resources, you might not be able to pay a lot, and attracting the right talents who believe in what impact you're trying to make and are not just here for like to cruise and get a salary, but to really make an impact. I think that's very important, and understanding them beyond just colleagues or co-workers is very important even up till today when we're about 800 strong. So I think that brings me to this point that I'm actually particularly passionate about, which I realized that we set this common mission and set of values only like maybe about three years in to ShopBack. But actually at the start, even though this was unspoken, we actually had this kind of alignment in terms of like what we really value as a team, having that can't is not an option attitude to succeed as one, being team players, having killer team execution. This was all really kind of part of the DNA of who we hired and the ones who actually stayed on with us for a longer time. But I think as we scaled, we're recently refreshing our mission, refreshing our values, and I was thankful enough to be part of driving this project as well. And I think setting this common mission and really communicating the type of values that we uphold as a company was really, really important. So you can see here our ShopBack values are a bit cheesy. We came up with one value for each ShopBack letter after we had realized that we picked out certain themes that we felt were very recurring, and somehow we managed to string that together, marketing for so it's called ShopBack. But really, I think beyond just what they stand for, I think we really see that those people who truly uphold the ShopBack DNA really have these values, and we want to continue hiring people based on these values, rewarding people based on these values as well. And I think just setting it is just the first step, right? I think what we realize is that we have to really live it out, and how we do it is to really use it every chance we get. You can see this example here. It's in our monthly town halls where we have sections where we give kudos to the team, and you see that people will always tie certain kudos to different values to really show and appreciate people for living out these values, and also, of course, giving recognition. We also put up posters around the office. Not everyone has come back to the office, but we're actually getting all our officers ready, having these visual reminders, because I think it's very, very easy, when you get so busy to forget these little things that are actually very important. So having those visual cues is also very key. Here you can also see one of our leaders. We actually use these values as we plan and plan our targets, our KPIs, structure our objectives and key results, and share it with both our leadership teams as well as the teams that kind of report into us. So it's really about walking the talk and not just saying like, hey, this is great values, but then when we actually run commercially or what, we just ignore that. So very important to have that sync too. And I think this one was something very cute. It was in one of the chats that I was actually in, a team chat, where there was one time where a merchant wanted to run a campaign really late, and one of the account managers had to actually activate the team like quite late to pull something off within a few days. And someone was actually saying, what's the motto? Succeed as one. It's okay. We'll all work hard together. So it's very heartening to see when just normal team members are actually subscribing to these values as well and really using that in their daily lives. I think that's when you kind of know that something is working and that you're really attracting the kind of like-minded tribe that you're trying to build. Okay, so my second point is a bit more serious, and also somewhat linked to my first point, which is to part ways early with the wrong fits, whether it's wrong culturally or wrong performance fits, but to always keep it real, which is one of our values, and I'll share a bit more. I think one part of also building teams, I think before parting ways, of course, is to make sure that you hire A players and understand that at the start, it's tough. I mean, I faced that, me and my team faced that at the start when you're competing with big guys who have a lot of money to pay top dollar. How do you then hire those A players and how do you raise the bar? And I think that was something that we struggled with, and that some of you guys may also face that. And I think you will definitely lose sometimes, but I think the important thing is to always be clear again on your mission or what you're really trying to do. And you'll be surprised that some people are not just all about money. And I think those are the kind of people that you also want to attract to be part of this journey of whatever you're building. So I'll just share a bit, this short video that's quite cute, to bring across a certain point about hiring A players. Okay, I don't know if it's working. Thank you. So, okay, I'll narrate because there's supposed to be sound. So basically there are three professional soccer players playing against 100 kids. So you can see how the three professional soccer players are totally owning it. The kids can't even get close. They're just running around like headless chickens. And then you'll see that one of them actually manages to score a goal. Okay, sorry, I'm ruining this. I've watched this a lot of times. Yeah, so I think this just kind of helps to illustrate why hiring A players is so important. Sometimes you really only need a small group of A players rather than hiring a troop of like mediocre or poor performers, because it's really harder to manage poor performance or poor culture fits compared to a smaller group of people who really know what to do. They are motivated, they can run on their own. It's so much easier and much more impactful for the business that you're trying to build. So I think this is a concept that maybe a lot of us know, but it's hard to execute because sometimes it's like you have limited resources and you need to hire someone fast and then you might settle. But I would say don't settle, for sure. If you want to take the risk to hire someone that you might be a bit iffy about, that's fine. But to realize that if this person's not the right fit, right, to really part ways with this person early. So I think one lesson that we've learned is to really try to do more with less. You don't have to have the biggest teams, but you need to have the right kind of quality of people within your teams, because performance actually spirals up when like-minded A players actually work together. They motivate each other, and just one bad egg is really all you need to pull the performance of the team down. So I think when I first was a hiring manager, like in my earlier Philippines days, I actually came across like this rather toxic person that I hired. But back then, we were so strapped for resources and I really needed someone to join the team. So I hired this person, and within 3 months, I could see that she was not she was not a culture fit. Performance-wise, she was okay, but she wasn't really living out the kind of values that we wanted. She used to come late to office, make certain comments that were not very helpful, not the best team player, and always wanting to claim her own credit. So even though her performance was okay, I actually made the tough decision within 3 months to actually part ways with her. And I think even though it was tough on the team, but after that, I actually found that morale, the energy of the team actually improved. So I would say learning from experience, right? It's important to make sure that you kind of uphold the culture that you want to build within your team, and to part ways with people who don't meet that. And of course, while doing it, keep it real, have that constant feedback with them, which is actually my next point. Yeah, so it's really to have constant, timely feedback throughout. So if, let's say, there's someone who's a poor performer, for example, we may actually make use of one-on-ones. So highly recommend you guys to do one-on-ones with your team, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly cadences, to actually have these kind of private conversations where you give constructive feedback to your team members, whether it's positive or points for improvement, to keep that very open, so that if, let's say, it comes a day when you have to part ways, there won't be a rude shock on the part of that person. So I think that's the only thing we can do as managers or people who are trying to build teams, right? To make sure that there's this constant, timely feedback given, and of course that it's given in a respectful way that's well received. And of course, if, let's say, this person's a poor performer, whether it's performance-wise or culture-wise, to actually give that feedback and allow the time for improvement, because sometimes people do change. Even though based on my experience, it's a bit difficult, but still always be gracious and give them that space to change. But if you really see that it's not working out and it's really impacting the team, right, I think make the decision fast, as much as it's tough, and not let it fester. I think that's something that I've seen not just for myself, but in many other teams where toxic performers or toxic culture fits actually really erode the team. So I think I actually read this book, which I highly recommend you guys to read, also talking about the Netflix story. This part actually spoke to me quite a bit. So actually, after they laid off a lot of people in 2001, where they were restructuring, and they left only the top performers and culture fits, they actually realized that the work environment took a sharp turn for the better, and that there was positive energy, passion, motivation, and they felt that actually there were more results coming from such a small amount of people, but they are all like A players. So I think really learning from the success of Netflix, I think that's also something that at ShopBack we are really trying to do. It's hard to execute, but we have to try. Yeah. Okay, and my third point, I think very similar to what Minister Edwin Tong was saying, for in terms of how to continually bring value to the customers that we serve, the partners that we serve. It's to really constantly iterate, and I think that has been what we've been doing since the very beginning. Here you can see that on the left side that we've actually gone through a lot of facelifts in terms of our website and even our business as well, the business model. So actually, before I joined, my co-founders actually tried 2 different business models of like flash sales. It was nothing related to cashback. That's actually the structure of our business right now. But they went through 2 failures before they actually reached this cashback model, which then after that there was still a lot of changes, as you can see, in terms of how to play around with the user experience, the user interface, to really get the kind of customers that we were looking at. So I think constantly iterating and doing it quickly is super important. Right now, you can see that our website and even our app looks completely different from before. And I think that's something that's very important that we really hope to always do, even now, to encourage our team members to own the problem, to really quickly iterate instead of waiting for slow perfection. So that's something that we always tell our team. It's like, don't wait until you have that perfect plan that you're like 80% sure it's going to succeed. It's like when you're 60% there, just do and plan at the same time. So we move quite quickly in that sense, where personally, I always feel like I don't even have enough time to plan, but I have to execute already, and you have to bring that team along with you to also execute on not a fully perfect plan. So that might be something quite different from, say, maybe how the bigger companies or MNCs actually work. And I think that has been how we've been able to really change very fast and actually keep up with trends and really kind of outdo our competitors as well. So I think, how do we constantly iterate, or how do we guide our iteration. Because of course, if you keep on doing the wrong things, even if you do it very quickly, it doesn't really help. So I think one thing that we really do is, we believe in, is to honor our customers and to listen and respond to them. So even at the beginning, especially so, in my earlier years, we were actually going to Starbucks, doing Starbucks tests with our customers, getting them to play around the product and observing how they do it. And this is still something that we do up till today. Of course, now I'm not personally involved anymore, but we have teams that actually do that, and even commercial teams that are kind of involved in running campaigns. They do sit in for these kind of testing to understand how users interact with our product. So that's still super important, being able to understand what our customers are feeling. And also we still do customer calls to ask for feedback from certain customers. And we do on-ground activations as well to actually get up close and personal with these customers and see how they're interacting with our app. I think a very recent activation we did was at Uniqlo, and I personally also was part of that team to go and help help customers out, be in the queues. So we're still very we were getting our hands dirty. People of every kind of background are just helping out for these activations to interact with customers, and you'll be surprised at what you can learn when you see a customer actually trying to use ShopBack, and you're like, wow, there's so many steps for a new customer to kind of onboard and sign up. Then we go back to the product team and say hey, can we do something about it? So I think having this at the start all the way until even when you're a mid-sized, fast-growing company is still very important, to not feel like you can rest on your laurels, but to constantly iterate based on that feedback. I think not just customers, right? For ShopBack, we are also serving our merchant partners. They're a very, very key stakeholder for our business. So on the merchant partner side, we constantly catch up with them. We try to really build strong relationships with them to understand what are the challenges that they face, so that our product can also evolve better to suit their needs, and really responding on their feedback. I think one example here was when I was with ShopBack Go, which was our first product going to the offline industry, where it was completely new to us. Back then, we actually talked to a lot of F&B partners, try to understand their challenges, and we actually changed the business model 4 times within 2 years based on that feedback, because what we thought would really work actually turned out that merchants didn't really like it after a while. After we started pushing sales to their business, they felt like it wasn't making sense, and we had to make certain tough decisions on the product side and on the commercial side to really make these changes. So I would say don't be too fixated on certain plans that you might have, but really be open to flexibly iterate and do it quickly before you even have a perfect solution, because really a lot of times pushing something out, right, and getting feedback from live customers will really teach you so much more than waiting for 8 months and then you roll out something that actually the market doesn't want. So I think that's something that we strongly believe in, and something that sometimes when certain people kind of push back, they're like, hey, it's not scalable, the kind of things you want to do, or it doesn't really make sense, how do you know it'll work? I'll also tell them that, hey, in this conversation where we're spending time to talk about whether it will work, I can actually go and try it out and actually come back with results to show you whether it works. So why not we just try in a very hackish way, and if it does work, then we'll think about how to scale it up. So I think that's how we try to think about things. So I think that having that kind of mindset to constantly iterate has actually helped us to become really the ultimate personal shopping app. I think we have moved beyond cashback in the last maybe 3 to 4 years, which was something really at the start we told ourselves we would never ever do. So I think never say never, but really understand what your customers and partners need, and really be willing to evolve your product accordingly. So you can see here that we started out with cashback, but then started moving much more upstream to allow to have different offerings to help customers to shop better, from discovering more personalized content, discovering new brands on our platform, to actually comparing prices, comparing products to find the best product that suits your needs at the right price, to then saving money with vouchers that you can actually buy beforehand, and then more recently this year to be able to pay flexibly, either now with return cashback or you pay later and split your payments into 3. So I think these are all milestones that I think 3 years ago we would never have thought we would actually be doing, and I think that's the mark of a company that's constantly iterating. When you look back and you're like, oh, I never expected that it would look like that today, and I think that kind of shows that you really constantly iterate. So I think just to end off, quickly summarizing, I think the 3 personal lessons that I've shared, and hopefully they have been meaningful to you guys in one way or another. The first is really to find that like-minded tribe, that believes in the impact, the mission that you want to achieve as a company, and to build values around that to support that mission and to align everyone there, to kind of instill that can't is not an option attitude. Second would be in terms of trying to hire the right people, hiring A players, but also be willing to part ways early with the wrong fits, whether it's performance or culture misfits. And then thirdly, to constantly iterate for your customers, knowing that quick iteration really beats slow perfection, and to really act on your customer and partner feedback as well to guide these iteration initiatives. And just wanted to leave you guys with this quote, which I think many of us at ShopBack strongly believe in, that a lot of times it's not about the idea that you think of. Because, in ShopBack's case, we weren't the first ones who thought of cashback. It was done before in other parts of the world. But it's really about making ideas happen. So it's how you want to execute, how you out-execute others. So a lot of the markets, or even in Singapore when we entered, we were not the first players for cashback. But I think how we manage to establish dominance in each of our markets is really to have that right team with us to make sure that we execute really, really well. It's not just about having that great idea, but to have that team that can make it happen. And I think that's really how we want to continue to build our business as well, with a strong focus on execution. I think at the start, it's fine that execution outweighs a bit more of the planning, but as you go along, the planning bit has to come more into play as well, but not forgetting the execution, because that's what really helps you to stay on your feet and to constantly iterate and actually roll out stuff that's meaningful for your customers. So thank you. I hope this has been useful.